Here we go. It is time for the Elite Series to start back up. We just wrapped up the Bassmaster Classic in Knoxville, Tennessee. And for this episode of the podcast, we're going to be previewing the Tennessee-Tombigbee Waterway. But Kyle, I need a couple thoughts from you about Knoxville before we move on. We've been doing a lot of previews, and then we do the event coverage, and we have not done a lot of wrap-ups and recaps. But man, the Bassmaster Classic, Dylan Nutt winning, saying he won. We could do podcasts and cover these topics that everyone else is covering. But he said he was going to win months ago. And then he definitely was confident enough to get Dave Mercer and Mark Zona and everybody else to believe that. And then, boy, he put himself in position, and he did indeed get it done. So congrats to Dylan Nutt, not only Elite Series champion, second person ever from the nation to win it, along with Brian Kirchhoff. And then now, because he is not an Elite Series angler, he is the first angler to win the Classic, not on the top level of the pros since we have formed this in the early 2000s, and has now punched his ticket to next year's Elite Series field and the Classic. I mean, we want to talk about a great 2026. He's already got 2027 lined out.
Yeah, it's March of 2026, and he's already got next year completely in the bag. So, yeah, incredibly impressive. Obviously, what Dylan did, it was a joy to watch, having covered him and his brother and all those UNA guys in the Strike King Bassmaster College series. Have shot a lot of stuff with those dudes in the past. So to see him not only call his shot, but to back it up on the biggest stage in bass fishing, and you heard him talk about it on Mercer's podcast, like the amount of effort and work that he put in, during the official pre-practice, like where, he spent, well over a month of time, pre-practicing the body of water. That was one of the big reasons I picked Easton, from a fantasy standpoint, and had Dylan Nutt on Drain the Lake. But it's like, when you put in that amount of effort and that much work, it's good to see a guy like Dylan hoist the trophy over his head. It was electric, getting to see all of his buddies there from UNA. There at the Champions Toast, and Trip Berlinski, obviously one of his teammates, had a great finish there as well. It was awesome. It was really cool. And the Classic itself was great. I mean, Knoxville is, we always talk about it, is such a great host for the Bassmaster Classic, how close everything is. I mean, literally, like, we were walking to take off from the hotel and then walking to the convention center, to do live and all the other things during the day. As where if you were to walk at most any other Bassmaster Classic venue, we'd still be walking right now, like from last year, just to get there. So really awesome. Knoxville really showed out big time. The expo, getting to do live cast with Mercer and Andrew and all the awesome guests we had, like seeing the amount of people in the expo just to walk like 10 feet around the corner to go to the bathroom is like, you couldn't hardly go to the restroom because there are so many people there. You couldn't hardly make it.
That
And
was
then you
you,
get,
Kyle. When you walk out, they were swarming for autographs. I was not like that. It was easy peasy for me to walk around. They were the
so
the river was separating, and you were just
funny.
getting hounded.
Funny story you said that, because every time Mercer walked out, of course, he really was getting stormed. And I told him, I said, at one point, it was like during the last day, I said, man, that must really suck. Every time I go out there, nobody stopped. I just walked straight to the bathroom and straight back. And I say that. I mean, I had some people obviously, chatted up, and some people I knew, but
Yeah, I saw
but
the
yeah,
line out of the bathroom. I guess I thought it was for the urinals. I guess it was because Mercer was in there and they were waiting. They were lined up
taking
autograph.
they were taking selfies with him in there,
Hey, while
100%.
you got a second, I know you're not live right now.
So yeah, no, I mean, Knoxville's awesome. The Classic was awesome. Obviously, thrilled to get the Elite Series kicked back off here, and in a place that I'm super, looking forward
Yeah.
to watching the tournament. We were just talking about it the other day. Like, Bassmaster Live for the Tombigbee Waterway last year was one of my favorite lives we've ever had from an opens, just because like the fishing was just awesome. Like the style of fishing. I mean, you're talking buzzbaits, frogs, flipping, swim jig, chatterbait, shallow run and crankbait. Like, I mean, traditional shallow water power fishing. So to kick back the Elite Series season on a body of water like this one, I think it's going to be a ton of fun, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it was fun. I believe I had Larry Nixon in studio as a guest because no one else in the Elite Series field that I could have called has ever been there, that would have
But
totally
where?
known. Yeah. Since 2001. 2001 was the last year we had a BASS event there until last year when we had the Open. And previous, like we said, we had two events in 2001. We had one in May, I believe one by Mark Davis, and in October won by Paul Elias. And so Paul Elias is a Mississippi guy. And so this is definitely an old school traditional fishery, one that Justin Atkins probably never expected to have an Elite Series event on what he would call his home body of water growing up. He now obviously makes home in Pickwick and has spent a lot of time there since he started college. But from high school and forward, this is his stomping grounds, Columbus, Mississippi region. And boy, it was fun. Came down to the wire when we had the open there. This place has a potential to fish big and very small at the same time. And so let's jump into and also before we move on, I'll say Dylan Nutt gets the headlines. Really, we had second, third, and fourth, fifth. No one really showed up to a large extent on that final day. Yui Aoki has had a lower day, his worst day of the three, I believe. Drew Cook had a lower day than his day two, mega bag. And it opened the door for Trey McKinney to come from like sixth or seventh place on that final day to second. And I got to go with Trey. And if you haven't watched it, go watch the video on our YouTube. It's titled How Trey McKinney Spent Final Day Practice, for the Classic. It's like a 30-minute video I did with my cell phone all day with him. Thank goodness our IT guy got me hooked up with a new phone the Friday before the Classic because I was like, I got no storage, man. I do this. No, I don't normally do this big video. I need storage. And he was like, well, aren't you good for an upgrade? And I was like, I don't know. And boom, we got a new phone. I got storage, and we did it. So going with Trey on that final day, Trey was one of the guys, just like Fisher and I, Easton Fothergill, going to Tellico. This is where it's going to be won. This is where blah, 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 blah. First day, 16 pounds, Second day, better, but still not enough. Then he makes the decision to go, to not leave Fort Loudon. And so on the final day, he fished almost every place that I went with him on Wednesday, that final practice day, because he went to find B, C, D, E patterns. He knew his A pattern was Teleco. He leaned on it enough to keep him close the first 2 days, realized that was not going to cut. I got to switch it up. Comes back to Loudon on the final day and freaking wrecks him. I mean, he had 20 pounds with me, Kyle, on Wednesday. And yes, I don't know what his other days of practice look like, but boy, you could call your shot. And we knew here's a slight current eddy. Hey, here's a flat bank or a non-traditional bank. These fish are going to be floating out there, not on the bank, not out by the channel, but just in the in-between, and able to catch them on a jerkbait, able to catch them on a jig head minnow, all that stuff. And he freaking whacked them on the final day. Came up to second place, not enough to win, loses the event by a big margin, lost that event on day one, in my opinion, 16 pounds, not good enough to win the Classic. Obviously, Dylan Nutt's 26 on day two eliminates a lot of people, but Trey, 2 seconds in AOY, 2 seconds in Classics. Man, riding in the boat with him, I'll say this. People are going to hate you and people are going to love you. There will be people who love you when they have no reason to. There will be people who hate you when they have no reason to. If you're in the boat with him, you no longer think he's a weirdo on Bass Live because he's just jibber jabbering on Bass. He's not a weirdo. He's a kid that knows how to catch them. He does explain things well. You can get him talking, and he understands enough. He'll openly talk game plan. I had a ball with him, and I wanted to get in the boat to confirm what I already knew and to learn a little more. And dude was great. The only thing he said, hey, just don't get all my baits specifically. And I was like, I got you, bro. Like it's the day before the Classic. I got you. And that's all. And he did catch one or two. And I was like, that is the most obvious backdrop. And that is exactly where we were in practice. They've been there. They didn't move. We were wondering if they were going to move. They didn't move for 3 or 4 days. And I also saw Dylan Nutt. Dylan Nutt caught some on a couple of those stretches too, not far from the Concord area. Anyways, let's make a move to the Tennessee River, or not the Tennessee River, make a move from the Tennessee River to the Tennessee-Tombigbee Waterway. And that's where the third event of the Elite Series is. And Kyle, this isn't the largest venue acreage wise. We talk about the 10 killers, the smallest lake will be on the Elite Series. This is probably size wise smallest, but brother, this is like 200 miles of fishable river. And with the boundaries that we have set, this place is going to be, there's so much opportunity. Can you get to all of it in a day and successfully make it back and do that 4 days in a row? I don't think so, but definitely plenty of water to go around. I think it's 230 something miles total. There's 10 pools in play that you can go in our boundaries. The northernmost boundary is the Highway 30 bridge at the top of Bay Springs Lake. If you go any farther past that, Kyle, you're on freaking Pickwick. So, and if someone wanted to go to Pickwick, they could, if that boundary wasn't there, but they would have like 7 minutes to fish. So, hey, I hope these 5 casts work. But North Highway 30 is the northern boundary. You've got the Coffeeville Lock and Dam is the southern boundary, and then the Black Warrior River Seddon, I think it's the Seddon Lock, is the Black Warrior River boundary. So there's 3 different boundaries because this is a river system that forks off. So massive playing field, but our takeoff is there in the Columbus pool.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's really interesting about these river style tournaments, and especially when like a lot of locks are in play, as you mentioned. Like, what did you say earlier? There's like 7 locks north that you could potentially go all the way to Bay Springs, and then several
Yeah.
south as well. Like from a strategic standpoint, I think that's what makes these tournaments so intriguing. Is like I've talked to Stephen Browning, who's like a river fishing expert. Obviously, almost won the Tennessee-Tombigbee River or Waterway rather tournament last year. And it's like the strategy of when to choose which pools which day. Like certain days, if you have a good boat number, taking a chance and going further away for a possibility of a really good bag that can anchor, the next 2 days or the next 3 days if you make it that far. Like there's so much strategy that goes into making the right call on the right days. Obviously in that tournament, we saw a lot of guys end up in the Columbus pool on the final day. I just love these tournaments, not only because I'm a sucker for like shallow water power fishing. I love those style tournaments as it is. But when you get the strategy mixed into it, a guy that has a game plan that's really dialed in and can execute that for 3 days, really gives himself a great chance on Championship Sunday. And, having talked to a couple anglers during practice, it sounds like, guys are really trying a lot of different places, whether it be, further north or, the pool south as well. But I just think it's going to be an awesome tournament to watch on live. And again, like the Open last year was so much fun to watch there. It's like the thought watching that was, man, I'd really love to see an Elite Series tournament here. And then sure enough, we got an Elite Series tournament here this year. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And, for all those that were, maybe put off by forward facing sonar in the Classic, this tournament's for you. There's no forward facing sonar. You can't use it even if you wanted to. It's not allowed in this tournament. And even if it was, I think we saw last year it was a very minimal factor, if really at all, by the end of it. So it's gonna be a lot of fun, and really looking forward to getting over to Columbus.
Yeah, so the way the pools map out is you're in the Columbus pool, and I would say out of the 10 available pools, you're in the bottom third of availability. You can go from the Columbus pool, which is right beside takeoff, so you just hook a left, get in the Columbus lock going south, and you get into the Pickensville pool. Pickensville pool is pretty narrow, and then it widens out at the bottom. You can go through the Pickensville pool and then make it to the bottom of to Aliceville is that next pool, I believe. So it's Columbus, Pickensville, Aliceville, and then you start to get to your boundaries to the east and to the south. And then north of there is you go from the bottom of the Columbus pool, you're driving up and you go up to the Aberdeen pool. Aberdeen's the next pool above, and then there's 6 more locks that you can go to or through to get to Bay Springs Lake. And so a lot of those, there's like 3, I don't know if it's 5 miles, 10 miles, very short compared to the size of the Aberdeen, Columbus, Pickensville, and Aliceville pools. Those are the 4 biggest pools lengthwise. The pools above the Aberdeen pool are a lot shorter. I mean, it's like your motor is like singing for 2.5 minutes and then you're back off, gonna go lock, gonna go lock. Last year with the Open, I think they had the lock below the takeoff pool, and the lock above. Those three locks had like priority times. Anything, if you lock twice away from takeoff, up or down, you're on your own. But locking once, it was more of a priority thing, and they were great about it. There's still plenty of barge traffic that can affect that. But yeah, with the ones up to the north, it's a lot quicker. You might be getting a heads up. Hey, you just came through. There's a barge, three locks up, and you're like, three locks up. No, not here. That's like 7 miles. It's like close. So you got to be careful there. And the big deal also I feel is if you are a early boat number, yeah, you may make that risk and lock, but locking south with an early boat number is almost null and void because some of those locks are big enough to have half of our Elite Series field in. I think that based on what I saw with Gray Buck locking south last time we were here for the Open, like I feel like you can get 25 to 50 boats. I might be wrong. I'm sorry. We've only been here once. The other times I was like seven. So like relax. But I'm pretty sure you can get like 25 to 40 boats in those locks, it felt like. And if your boat won and you go run straight to the lock and you're waiting, you might not get till boat 70 at takeoff before it's like the lock master's ready to go. Here we go. Whereas if you were at other places and you went and ran for 10 or 15 minutes to get to the lock, you can fish by takeoff by the lock and be ready to go without feeling like you losing your advantage. And so with that early morning period, do you want to fish for an hour and then lock down? Do you want to just go and not get that morning window just to have priority first lock? That's the hard thing that you do. Maybe you go lock early and come back later. Depends on your morning bite and your afternoon bite. But I know that Columbus pool is very popular for our top guys. So, yeah, three anglers from the state of Mississippi in our field. Atkins, it's going to say Alabama on Bassmaster.com. I'm saying he's from Mississippi. Brock Mosley, and then Cliff Pace. And so we'll see how the quote unquote locals do. But also like you said, no forward facing sonar. Who's going to show up out of the young crowd? Because we know Trey McKinney had two good events to start his season. And then a lot of the other ones had a middling event with a good one or a bad one with a good one.
Yeah, and another thing that came to my mind is rewatching the Open footage from last year and watching y'all's analysis of the final day is like, you know, also who's the guy that can maximize an area? Like, you watch like Bo Thomas and what he did and some of those other guys fishing on the final day. Like, that's river fishing 101. Like, you might only have one area that you got a lot of confidence in, but if you can make that work for multiple days, like, you can have a top 10 finish out of that area. But again, that goes back to managing those areas and, like I said earlier, I mean, the strategy involved in a tournament like this, like one bad decision, which is the case really in any tournament, but like it is heightened, like the fact that one bad decision or one bad move on one day can cost you your tournament, or it can make you your tournament. You can go again, lock up two or three times or whatever it may be north and have a great day and then be able to, ride it out in the Columbus pool for the next 2 days or whatever it is. Like, I think it's just going to be a ton of fun to watch. And
And that's
honestly,
what
one that,
Browning did. That's what Stephen Brown,
yeah,
he went up that one and then it was fine, but he didn't really like it wasn't probably as good as practice. So then he was like, I'm gonna stay closer and got better on day two and then like almost won the dang thing on day three.
yeah, no, exactly. And I will say this, like you said, we are certainly not experts, so I'm sure we'll have some comments in the comment section from people that are telling us, more about it. But there's some great content on Bassmaster.com. Justin Atkins wrote well, he was featured in the preview article, gave a really good idea of,
We don't
what
want
to.
Justin writing anything.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
just
no,
kidding.
we don't have the time to edit that. Come on now, Ronnie. But he gave a really good idea of what to expect in this tournament, and I was thrilled to read that. And then on top of that, earlier this year, I want to say it was like January, Dalton Tumblin and I went over there and shot a Day on the Lake feature that'll be in the April issue of Bassmaster Magazine with Justin Atkins, and he showed us around a lot of stuff. It was after like a brutally tough cold front. So I mean, the fishing that day was not very good. But the one thing that stood out watching the Open last year is like this just looks like one of the fishiest places like you could imagine. And seeing it in person was like heightened times 10. And that was like a time of the year where you had a lot of dead grass and things didn't look as good as they probably will while we're here for this Elite Series tournament. But definitely going to be a fun tournament to watch. And like you said, I mean, Justin Atkins, a guy that has really been looking forward to this one. When we were out there shooting that Day on the Lake feature, there was times where he got like emotional just thinking about all the stories of him and his dad fishing this point, and like a story where he caught a big one with his dad during a tournament here, and all those things. So gonna be really cool to see him, and hopefully we get to watch him on Bassmaster Live. So gonna be a lot of fun.
I really like that maybe Eric Lopez did this, but maybe it was just the way we had to do it with the dates. That instead of doing Murray and Santee and Pascatank, places that notoriously have bigger than normal fish sizes, instead of doing them during March and April, which we've seen 50 times by us and by everyone who wants to be us, like literally when you get to places like the Tennessee-Tombigbee Waterway and the Arkansas River, two grinder type places. I was talking to Tommy about this for the live well. It's like we normally go to those places to start the year in February, or it's like June and July and it's 100 degrees and it heightens the toughness of the fishery. Like it makes it. Winyah Bay was an April event and it fished a little better than it had previously, top to bottom. The winning weight was 1 pound less. Um, but it was during a decent time of year. Instead of shoving some of the tougher places in the middle of the summer or when it's freezing cold, having them in March and April, you're gonna be good. Like this is good fishing months. And so
Sure.
you're going to take a fishery that could be stingy and giving it ample opportunity to provide some good visuals and a good show. And so also with the whole forward facing, non-forward facing thing, forward facing is not eliminated in the spawn. We know how useful it can be, but it's definitely you can get on something without it and thrive. And so seeing these two, you may not see a ton of electronics at all in the next two, and you shouldn't. And so I'm glad that we put two grinders during non-grinding months, and so that'll be fun. Um,
I do remember watching the coin flip show and watching these two paired up against each other. It was like,
it's like
who cares?
if you're gonna be like, well, the classic was forward facing and five elites are forward facing. That's 6 versus 4. That's not fair. Well, we gave you two dirty water places that were so it's kind of 5 and 5, kind of deal. But it'll be interesting how the Arkansas River does with forward facing in a month or in 3 weeks. But
I got to say this
go
too.
ahead.
I was just gonna say, we're obviously thrilled to get the Elite Series back started and again on a place that we're looking forward to seeing. But it's got to be like one of the best weeks in sports too. I mean, we got the round of 16 NCAA tournament also starting Thursday. Thursday is MLB opening day for like 90% of the teams. I mean, what a week, huh? Let's have a
Yeah,
week. I
yeah.
mean, come on now.
I mean, literally, the only thing Elite Series guys could do after the Knoxville Classic was watch March Madness and then pack their boat to leave because this has to be the quickest turnaround from a classic to an elite ever. I think we had 2 weeks in between Jason Christie's win and his last place finish at Santee Cooper. So good thing Dylan Nutt's not in the field because he's still doing interviews. He's still fishing
Oh, yeah.
tournaments. He still hadn't had a time to really prepare or sit down and do anything else. Um, but yes, ready to go back in the saddle. Let's. Do you got anything else about the Tennessee Tom Baby? I think that we've talked about the playing field, how big it is, numbers of locks that you have to go through. Um, the one question I don't really know, and I'm guessing, sheer guess, no real tangible info to provide a good guess. Winning weight. I mean, I have no idea. I
Me
it
neither.
was like 13. Wait, what was it? 13, 26, 39. No, it was like 14 a day, 42 and change, with Trey Schroeder having 4 fish on the final day. So maybe you give him 2 more pounds. Maybe it's almost 15 a day for the open. Is it going to be 60 or more? I got 63, but if a fan copies that, he's just loyal to Ronnie more because I have no intel that tells me 63. I feel like 15 pounds a day is pretty dang good. We've kind of made it where if you're not catching 20 a day, the fishery sucks. Not true. Just different. And 15 pounds a day, I feel like that's a decent weight if we were to do that.
Yeah, I think my fantasy weight was right at like 60 pounds, 10 ounces, maybe something around
I think
there.
I got 63
Um,
even. Like I think it's just going to be, I think we could see a 7 pounder or something maybe. But other than that, and the elite guys are just better, but also 100 less boats in that
and it's
field versus the open
you
is helpful.
you mentioned it too. I mean, it's such a good time of the year to be fishing right now. I
It's
mean,
been warm for a while. It's been
yeah, 100%.
I've been telling Tommy, I've been slandering the stupid rodent who said it was gonna be 6 more weeks of winter. We had like 4 days of winter since then, but otherwise it's been warm.
The day after the classic, it turned to winter for like 2 days. I mean, literally just went straight to
I
winter.
drove through that the night
Yeah,
after the
me too.
classic. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. That was not very fun driving through the snow. But yeah, I mean, I can remember Atkins saying during our day on the lake shoot that he figured like a lot of the fish would be spawning. I mean, whether or not that's a sight fishing deal or not, who knows? Based on water clarity and which
They don't
pools have.
certainly get deep there. They're always
Yeah,
shallower,
yeah.
but ready to
I
do their
mean, you
thing.
get,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. You get a giant wave of them, and get some of those big females up there and ready to bite. I mean, I think some of my fantasy picks will reflect, the spawning fish bite. But again, it's just a really good time of the year to fish. So as far as winning weights are concerned, like it could be higher than what I'm thinking, it could be lower than what I'm thinking, because still at the end of the day, it is a river fishery with again a lot in play. Being consistent in these style tournaments is very, very difficult. And, obviously whoever does it for 4 days is going to be our champion. So
I got a text right now during the pod. I should dox his phone number, but I'm not going to. Because I don't even have his name saved in here. I know exactly who it is based off of our texts. Um, he said, "How many guys do you think will be there at the Tom Bigby this week and tear up their boat trying to get to where I was in the Open last year?" And that would be none other than Bo Thomas, who
hey, we
was
were just talking about him.
up a creek without a paddle and a buzzbait in his hand, knocking him down. And so we'll see if somebody does make that trek. Hopefully the water level stays up for them and they don't tear up their boats. But yes, very, very possible. You can tear up your boat if you're on the Elite Series if we put you on Lake Murray on a weekday because you're going for it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't even have to be a sketchy fishery. You just got to send them out there with competition on the line, and you never know what's going to happen. But good to hear from Bo. And no, I'm not going to get a preview from him from this event because he's from Michigan, and he did do well in the event, but he ain't from there. Um,
A Michigan local.
so now that we've talked a little bit about winning weight, that what the possibilities could be there, let's jump into some picks. Why don't we? Okay.
Do it. Let's do it.
Fantasy fishing, Rapple of Bassmaster Fantasy Fishing off the rip. I've kind of got, just letting you know how it goes. I got two Carolinians, two Cajun anglers, and one river guy, but he's a northern river guy. I wonder if you could pick out who I've got, but I'm not going to make you pick it. Um, if we're ready to ping pong, let's ping pong through our picks. I'm going to start us off with a low key percentage. Man, I feel like it's coming into his time of year without forward facing sonar, right? He's tried to become proficient in it, but by far does better without it. He's pretty good in grinders most of the time. I'm going with Brandon Cobb. I feel like Brandon Cobb fishes well in the month of March and April. Has had some decent grinder success, whether it's um, places like Lay Lake, where he did all right, I believe.
Seen him on camera at Sabine before. I mean,
Yeah, but he was AOY leader, and I ended up not doing. He ended up getting like 90th that week. But no, I understand. But like his
like
style
I
of
said, he's
fishing,
great.
yeah. Hey, I picked Shane LeHue at the Classic, and
I
then you
just
told me
remember
not
seeing him
to.
on. I just
And
remember seeing him on camera, so I knew he was on
no, you were
camera.
correct about that. You did see him on camera.
Yes.
I do think that this one lines himself up to when other anglers take dramatic risks that he plays it close to the vest and does it smart, and it could pay off for him this week with a 50 cut. So I'm gonna go Brandon Cobb in bucket A, because remember, we do have most of our bucket A guys have done decent in the first two. A lot of them are still quote unquote cut from the electronics cloth, but you got plenty of veteran experience in there, I feel. But Brandon Cobb having a good start to his season, I'll take him in bucket A.
Yeah, I mean, to your point about Trey McKinney earlier, the one thing that stood out to me is I think people are certainly getting on the fact that forward facing or not, Trey McKinney is always going to be a good pick because he's literally 31.9, almost 32% picked in bucket A for Rapala Bassmaster Fantasy Fishing, which is far and away the most in bucket A. I am not going with Trey McKinney. I am going with one Drew Cook. I
Hey, I
like Drew
like it.
Cook in a tournament like this. Like you said, shallow water grinder style event always going to be a factor, but also, the fact that we're in this time of the year, fish are going to be up spawning. I think a guy like Drew Cook figures out how to make that work, whether it's sight fishing or not. Like, I'm not equipped to tell you right now that the water clarity, wherever he's fishing, or a lot of these guys are fishing, is going to be good enough. But Atkins did give me the idea that, like, there are certainly places and things you can do to find them on bed. You get a guy like Cook or Benton or Cox or whoever it may be. If there's fish to be found on beds, they're going to find them. They do it every time. It
I
never
just
fails.
hope they don't find him in Bay Springs and they spend 4 hours traveling throughout the day,
For the
one way.
sake for the sake of my fantasy team, I hope you're right. I hope he finds them
That's
in the
scary.
Providence pool and has all day to fish for him. But again, for me, it's like you said, a lot of guys in bucket A that you could justify, guys that are good at this style of fishing. Obviously, some young guns in there as well. So for me, I'm going Drew Cook. And Ronnie, I'll go ahead and just push us right on into bucket B. With the river grinder style in mind, I'm going Wes Logan in bucket B. I just think, again, watching live last year and then obviously spending a day on the water, earlier this year, there's so many similarities to like a Coosa River Lake, to where, the forage is a lot of the same, the cover, obviously current is a factor, to some degree. I know a lot of guys will be fishing more like the backwaters and things of that nature, but you get a guy like that, Wes Logan, who can maximize an area. He's done it throughout his Elite Series career. This time of year, early morning swim jig bite, buzzbait bite, whatever it may be, and then being able to, just put his head down and grind the rest of the day. I like Wes Logan and Bucket B.
The only thing that scares me about Wes, and I like Wes,
Every time you do this, he proves you wrong. So just be careful.
I know he's a poor mouther, and sometimes he is a low morale guy when it's a grinder. And I've already seen Instagram videos of guys talking about I ate 3 sandwiches and drank 6 Gatorades, and I hope the fishing gets better. And so the only thing that's discouraging to me is during tough practices, Wes lets it be known that he is not having fun, and that's always scary because it could go the wrong way. And so anything's an uptick from Knoxville for him finish wise, but I just he's got to stay in it in practice for me to trust picking him. But because I looked at him in this bucket, I looked at picking him. 12% didn't, steer me away. But that was my only concern with was if West doesn't land on him early enough in practice, we could lose that boy. That boy would go chase a stick down the road to the gas station and get himself a biscuit before going to the lake or something. Um,
Clip that because he's gonna win it, and
that's
he's gonna
totally
have it all
fine.
over.
I told you he sets up well for this, but it's also I'm not having fun, but I'm better at not having fun than everyone else, and sometimes there's a fine line
But
of that.
when is the last time you talked to Wes during a practice period and he was like, "Dude, it's gung ho out there. We're
I
catching
don't
them."
have to talk. He voluntarily puts on Instagram that it's a crud practice, and I just pay attention to that. If he's having a decent practice, you don't know about it because he's just keeping it on the low low. But when he
Has he
volunteers it, it's
posted
never
something
positive.
about it?
No, no, no. We're shooting this on day one of practice. I'm just stick
Well,
with
you're just making me wonder if he's already bad mouthing. I don't feel like he is.
no, no. I mean, I think he's just focused on getting the job done. Let's look it up. I'll look it up and see. But I'm not hating on him this week. I'm saying traditionally. places like this, you'd pick him for the Sabine. You'll see on the Sabine, it's like, here we go. And you're like, okay, hope he stays in it. Um,
Who
all
do
that
you
to
have?
say, Mr. Optimistic Patrick Walters all the time. I like his risk management at times. This is a big risk tournament. Do you go and risk it by locking a bunch? Do you go maximize here or there? Who can balance two or three different game plans in a week and make them flow? I like Walters, and
He's already been taking some risk out there. He and Justin Hamner plowing through a 12 count of Krispy Kreme donuts out there on day one of practice. I mean,
I
he's already
mean,
taking risk.
roll tide to Krispy Kreme. I will take some of that. Good vibes already with those two goons. Um, so I'm going Patrick Walters. Always positive and always determined. I feel like we haven't had an elite win other than Murray in a while for him. I feel like he could pop up and do one of these next two or three that we don't expect. So this might be his year for Santee. We don't know. And yeah, I think it starts here. He's had two decent events to be sitting okay in AOI. I think he turns it up a notch this week. Like I said, I got two Carolinians that anchor the top of my fantasy fishing team. Then I get into Cajun territory. So bucket C, I'm gonna go with a guy because of this fishery reminding me a little bit of the Atchafalaya, the Sabine, places like that. I'm going Caleb Summerall. Um,
Like it.
Man, he's got to roll into town positive and happy because it looks like home, and there's not too many places that will look like home for him. So give me Caleb Summerall, point blank, right up his alley style wise. He doesn't have to run to Houston to do well, so he might be the one that goes to Bay Springs, or he might be the one that goes to Coffeyville. But he definitely should like what he sees on these next two fisheries. Based on the cover that's in front of him. So give me Caleb Summerall in this bucket because I thought bucket C overall was a real motley crew of guys that are like doing all right, really good anglers. In the past, maybe struggling this year, maybe a little bit of history. I think this is the least forward facing sonar bucket of them all. We've got guys who are really good at forward facing at the top of our AOIs in the top 25, and then we've got them in the 60 to 80 right now. And then this one right here is the most sample of 20 guys that's like, I see some, but a lot of it's just kind of indifferent to it.
Yeah, I like it. I like Caleb Summerall a lot in bucket C, but I can't sit here and talk about Justin Atkins as much as I have during this podcast to this point and not pick him in bucket C. I'm going Atkins, not only just because of the local advantage, if you want to call it that, as you mentioned, obviously a Florence, Alabama guy now, but growing up in Columbus, I think that it's typically on these types of river fisheries, whether it pans out for them or not, but having history of different places to check. I mean, the learning curve during practice obviously is completely
Navigation, yeah.
100% navigation, like all the different factors in play. And obviously a lot of people picking him in bucket C, 24.4%. Believe he's the second highest behind Jordan Lee and then Chris Johnston right behind him. Early in the season, so of course we see some guys in bucket C in these lower buckets that we're not typically
I'll
accustomed to
get to
seeing.
one in a minute, don't you worry.
But I just think Justin's also fishing so good. I mean, I think he's, coming off a great tournament at the Classic. Really good to start the season this year at Guntersville. I think he's in a good groove, good place mentally. And you have to imagine he's been, like I said, looking forward to this one for the entire time since it was announced. So I'm going Justin Atkins and Bucket C.
And I like that. I did not want to go all in on Mississippi guys, but Brock Mosley's fishing out of his mind right now, and
100%.
Atkins is doing very well. A lot of pressure, but man, there is a lot of save time knowing uh, this is traditionally the lock time for this lock, four locks up, or it's going to take me an hour and a half to get here. And so you don't even have to test it in practice. You're not having to guess or ask, And even like Bo Thomas is talking about, man, I idled my creek for 3 hours in practice to make sure I could run it. And I still was worried. Atkins knows most likely how to run it. And so I do like that aspect of it. But when you do have a bigger place that can fish small, boy, you don't have to, you could have the secret, and Elite Series guys will happen to be around your secret, and they'll start to learn more and more about it so fast that all of a sudden, that little brush pile and 7 feet of water, that dude's been around it all week and he didn't even know it was juice, but he's just around it enough to be in the way or enough to learn about it. So we'll see how Atkins manages all of the things. So let's go to bucket D and you take it away with your bucket D pick. Mine's going to be another Cajun type of fella. He's not necessarily Cajun. He's a transplant.
So you're going Greg Hackney. We'll just go ahead and get that out
Okay.
of the
Yeah.
way.
Well, yeah, I'm doing that. Doing
Um,
that.
so for me, I'm going back to the Coosa River thought. Will Davis Jr., obviously, again, a guy that in Bucket D we're not accustomed to seeing. We're always picking him from Bucket A or B, it seems like. But a guy, again, that I think this style of fishing, we obviously saw what he did at Lay Lake, obviously a home body of water for him. But this style of fishing, I think, sets up really well for him. Place you can lock a swim jig in your hand, power fish the way that he grew up doing on the Coosa River. Think it should bode well for him. It was very difficult, I will say, to not go with a Greg Hackney or a Lee Livesey in this bucket, just because those are two guys you really would expect to do well in this tournament. But I'm going Will Davis Jr. at a slightly lower player percentage, 12%, so not super low, but definitely not as high as a couple of the other ones.
And this is probably my fault in Rapala Bassmaster Fantasy Fishing. I don't treat it like pick my favorite guy every event. I almost treat it like drain the lake where I'm not trying to use the same dude 2 weeks in a row. But I
Yeah.
look at I look at Blake Capps, I look at Scott Canterbury, I look at Lee Livesey, I look at Luke Palmer. Bro, I'm gonna be talking and thinking about those guys next event as well at the Arkansas River. And it's like, am I gonna pick the same dude? If I pick him and he does well this week, is there some like risk of picking him again, or do I'm gonna just end up they're gonna have much more of an advantage next time than this time. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm going Greg Hackney. Gotta catch him, bro. Missed a classic. He doesn't hardly ever miss classics. Missed a classic last year for this classic. He's got to make it. I think the Hartwell would be a great classic for him to win. If he wants to end his career with a classic win, gotta happen now. Gotta start catching them now. These next 5 events could be huge, and we say that for a lot of people, but Tennessee-Tombigbee Waterway, Arkansas River, Lake Murray, Santee, and Pascatank. I mean, we could see him all of a sudden be top 10 in points by the end of these 5. He's got to start it now though. And so Greg Hackney, a little bit of urgency this late in the year, and there's more urgency for these next guys in Bucket E as well as we get there. And you look at the John Coxes and Jason Christie's, and you look at the Bill Lowens and the Brandon Poliniks, Gerald Swindle, Pat Schlopper. Gotta catch them, bro. Logan Parks. You guys have to catch them this week because every day you don't catch them, even like you don't catch them day one at Tennessee Tom, maybe you're now limited on how high you can finish. You're not going to make up nearly as many points as you hope to. It could roll into another event, and all of a sudden you have 4 events left and you don't have enough time to make up points. So Bucket E has got to start catching them. And I think this is where Pat Schlapper starts catching them. Obviously did a lot of pre-practice time here in the Arkansas River. It was cold. Maybe it doesn't translate to fishing how he caught him when he was there, but navigation, getting around, those are all different things. And Pat Schlapper put in the time. And so Bucket E, I like Pat Schlapper. I really didn't want to go Jason Christie, Greg Hackney, John Cox, Greg Hackney, because those are two huge names. And you got to think maybe they both do well. Maybe all 3 of those do well. One of them might struggle, and we just continue on the struggle bus. And so I'm kind of just staying away from that. And I'm going Pat Schlapper. Got to catch him. This is going to be the first fishery since the Sabine that looks like the Sabine. So give me some Pat Schlapper.
Yeah, I was the opposite of you. So my thought was like, I can't not Jason Christie and Greg Hackney. You look at a tournament like this, and those are two names you're going to watch 100%. So if I wasn't going to go with Greg Hackney and Bucket D, I had to go with Jason Christie and Bucket E. Um, I just think like, when you look at a body of water like this, and I thought the same thing at Lay. A few years ago when we were at Lay, he was my pick to win that event. Obviously, was one giant miss away on the final day from winning that event. But it's just like any of those bodies of water that remind you of those, Kerr Lakes, some of those East Oklahoma lakes. Like it's just like it's almost an automatic thing for Jason Christie. But Bucket E in its entirety, like number one, like you said, absolutely a ton of names in there that you don't expect seeing in Bucket E, guys that need to catch them. But just from a stylistic standpoint, how many guys in Bucket E are guys that are always going to factor in a tournament like this? I mean, Bo Browning, Jason Christie, John Cox, going down the list. Russ Lane, had a top 10 here last. We haven't even mentioned him.
Steve
Always going to be a
Kennedy.
factor. Steve Kennedy, Bill Lowen, Mark Menendez, Polinick, pretty much anywhere you name it. Gerald Swindle, this style of fishing, just junk fishing, obviously is always going to be up his alley. Pat Schlapper, what we've seen him do on river systems. I mean, just
Brock
loaded.
Rinkenmeyer.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, just the loaded with guys that have made a career of being good on this style of body water. So definitely a tough bucket to pick from. And like you said, some of these guys are going to get the momentum going and have a good rest of your season. But obviously, you'd like to pick the right one here at the Tenn-Tom.
And I'm probably going to pick Jason Christie next week. So I'm kind of trying not to, I'm trying to give the podcast variety. We could just say,
Oh,
hey, give me these 10 guys and 5 of them will not be in the same buckets. And I'm going with those 5. I could do that all year.
I
But
struggle with
there's,
that a lot with
yeah,
my fantasy column because, like, I'm not just going to go chalk in every bucket. Like, I want to go with some guys that maybe guys aren't thinking about. Fantasy players aren't considering, this guy, compared to, some of the really high player percentage guys. So sometimes that comes back to bite you, but sometimes it works out because you get a really low
yeah.
percentage and
I'm not trying
you.
to cheapen it. If I hit, people will be like, "How did he pick those 5 lottery numbers?" And I'll be like, "You know what? I've been coming up snake eyes for a long time, and now he hit."
We're
So
over. Yeah, we're over the season at this point. So I mean, at some point we're gonna hit and we're gonna get them.
yeah.
It's
Um.
inevitable.
Well, there it is. Rapala Bassmaster Fantasy Fishing. I've got Brandon Cobb, bucket A, Patrick Walters, bucket B, Caleb Summerall, bucket C, Greg Hackney in bucket D, and Pat Schlapper in bucket E. There's my 5 picks. What about you, Kyle?
Yeah. So for me, I've got bucket A, Drew Cook, bucket B, Wes Logan, bucket C, Justin Atkins, bucket D, Will Davis Jr., and bucket E, Jason Christie.
Well, it's time for TH Marine Fantasy Pick'em. And this is the biggest challenge, I would say. Rightfully so. It's TH Marine Bassmaster Pick'em Challenge. And boy, it's been a challenge. We are 3 events in, counting the classic, 21 selections. I have gotten 9 right. I am 9-12 right now. Where are you sitting, Kyle?
Oh boy, I don't even want to look, to be honest with you. Oh no, I'm one better than you. I've got 10.
You had
Got
a
10
better
right.
classic than I did, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, let's go. Yeah, as you were talking, I'm literally making my picks because I haven't even made my picks for pick 'em. So
Well,
it's a good thing you're doing this.
I will. You set the you set the matchups, and so you pick them while I get us started. Matchup 1 is top 2 in AOI. It is Corey Johnston versus Trey McKinney. Kind of, yeah, others can take the AOI lead, but who is going to be leading out of these two after 2 events? Kyle, who you got?
Right now, I've got Trey McKinney. I'm not betting against Trey McKinney. I just think he's got so much momentum rolling into this, especially off the classic. I'm going Trey.
I've got Corey in that one. I do think that Corey has not gotten nearly enough shine this year. Like
Sure.
your brother wins back-to-back AOIs. Canada sucks in hockey. Like you just no one's giving you any love. And then all of a sudden we jump into Bassmaster Classic, so your AOI standing doesn't even matter in terms of like focus of the tournament. And now we're quickly back into it. Corey Johnston's low-key led AOI for a month now, even though we haven't had an event since Martin. Um, but man, does Johnston stand the test of time, forward facing or not? And Chris not doing great. I think he's in the 60s or 50s in points. Corey at the top. I think he does good again. We've got Mississippi natives. This is Brock Mosley versus Justin Atkins. I got a feeling I know where you're going with this. I might actually be different with you than you as well. I'm going Brock Mosley.
Yeah, I'm going Justin Atkins. I found that matchup to be incredibly difficult because I think both guys will catch him. Like you said, Mosley's been fishing out of his mind. But again, I can't sit here and talk about Justin Atkins as many times as I have throughout the course of this podcast and then pick against him. So we're going Justin Atkins in matchup number two.
Matchup three, the two top performers from last year's Open that are on the elites, Russ Lane and Tristan McCormick. I'm actually going Russ Lane, not because of his finish, but because it's time for him to turn his season around. You want to talk about two bad finishes? He is one of those that has made a cut in 0 events this year. Looking to see Russ Lane make a move up the leaderboard.
I'm right there with you. Give me Big Daddy Russ Lane. I got Russ Lane in matchup number three.
The Fat Papa. Sorry, he prefers Big Daddy way more than Fat Papa. I found out. Um, Matchup four, River Rats, Bill Lowen versus Bo Browning. I'm going Bill Lowen, and I expect you to be different on this one, probably.
No, I'm going Bill Lowen as well.
Okay.
No,
So
I'm kidding.
we,
I'm going my
oh
boy
yeah,
Bo. Come on
see,
now.
I knew
Come on
you.
now.
You
Come on
duped
now.
me, but I know you. So we are different in 3 of the first 4. The only one matching is Russ Lane right now. We got a swim jig showdown with Wes Logan and Steve Kennedy. Who you got?
I got Wes Logan. He's on my fantasy Rapala Bassmaster fantasy team, and he's on my pick'em team. Let's go, baby.
I've got him on my pick'em team too. A little bit because I don't pick Steve Kennedy ever in anything, but because, like I said, I tried to tell you I don't think he's going to do bad. I just need him to keep his head in the game, and it'll all work out. So I'm going Wes Logan in matchup 5. Last 2 matchups, we got John Cox and Greg Hackney in the Skinny Water Standoff.
I found this one to be very tough too. Of the
You
two that
made
I
him.
found the most challenging. Yeah, well, I should have made it more easy. Matchup number 6, I'm going John Cox, and that pains me to say because Greg Hackney's like obviously growing up was like my fishing hero. So to not pick Greg Hackney in a tournament that I 100% think he's going to catch him, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I'm pretty sure he's on my Drain the Lake roster. Um, John Cox, I think number one, he's one of those guys in Bucket E that I think is definitely going to make his way out this week. And again, just the like outside chance, well, not outside, I don't think it's outside, just the chance of guys finding spawning fish. Like, it's impossible to imagine John Cox not having a great event here if there are fish up there spawning. Again, whether you're seeing them or not, like he'll skip a wacky rig around and like catch 20 pounds. He'll do John Cox things and he'll catch them. And I'm pretty sure Greg Hackney will as well, but I'm going Cox. A lot of explanations for me to say I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going Hackney. I picked him in Rapala Fantasy, obviously. Got to catch him. I feel like these next 2 events set up really well for him. I mentioned those next 5, but he's done very well at the Arkansas River. Something's got to give, and he's going to have a big one of these next 2. So I'm riding with him on both probably to capture one of those big events. Last one. So we are matching right now in just 2 of 6 matchups. Last one, Classic Momentum, Easton Fothergill or JT Tompkins.
I'm going Easton. I'm going Easton in this matchup. Where are you going?
I'm going Easton as well. Man, JT had a great classic. JT had a better classic than Trey until he didn't, right? He was the roommate. Like I rode with Trey on the final day of practice of the classic, so I basically rode with JT because they communicate enough that I was basically with JT as well. And Trey is very, very good, and JT gets no love out of that roommate battle because Trey just performance-wise soaks up all the exposure. But man, all the way into the last 2 hours of that day, JT was dominating the household for the classic, and so you need to give him his love in terms of ability. Obviously, failed polygraphs and things in the past have people shying away from giving him props, probably. But man, kid can catch him as well. This place, I mean, he's from the low country of South Carolina. So it's a lot more fisheries like this than like Lake Murray, a place that he doesn't fish a ton. So I was leaning to JT. I'm going Easton as well, But man, JT, I would not be surprised if he had a good one this week. So,
I'm
all
waiting.
that to say, Easton, but that's because you basically pick Easton until he shows you that he doesn't know anything about this type of fishing, and then you're like, oh, okay, we'll give him a couple hours and he'll learn it. He'll figure it out. So, um,
He'll
well, we
catch him.
match we match on 3 of 7, and we will see how those other 4 matchups go. Kyle, last one, and it's called Falcon Rods Drain the Lake Challenge. I took a step back. I was at like 88%. Now I'm at 72%. Wow, excuse me. I'm at 72%, mostly because I had 3 anglers make the cut at the Classic. And with only having 56 guys, 58 guys, whatever it was, you gotta have most, if not all, your Drain the Lake in the cut. And I had Kyle Welcher 11th, Jordan Lee 8th, and Brandon Pollock 22nd. And so I burned a few big names. Lee Livesey's streak of classics in the top 15 has come to pass. About the time that I publicized his name, I cursed him forever. No, actually, sorry, I had 4 make it. Dylan Filardo, 24th, slid in there as well. So 4 of my 8 made the cut. Got to do better than just 1 in the top 10, though. So gonna come back strong. How did you do in the Classic? And then kick us off with your team.
Yeah, so in the Classic, I was really top heavy. I had Dylan Nutt and I had Trey McKinney. And then outside of that, I had one other guy make the final day. So
Yeah, you
really good,
smoked
really
me
bad.
though, dude. I mean, you get triple points for Dylan Nutt and then second place for, I mean, that's those two. How many points did they get
Uh,
combined, those two?
Dylan Nutt 950 and Trey McKinney 295.
950 and 295. That is 1145. I had 1800. So you really didn't have to do much with the other 6 picks to beat me. So
Yeah, I did not, which was fortunate for me that I picked the winner in the second place. I also had Dylan Filardo, and then everybody else. I went like obviously watching the Classic. We talked about it beforehand. I just expected the shallow largemouth deal to be way better than it was, all the way up until the day of the tournament.
man,
Like
it got
even right with
freaking killed with that cold rain.
Yes, that cold rain like just destroyed that bite so much that like of all the things I loved about the Classic, that was the only thing that you look back and you're like, well, that really like screwed up a lot of guys because I talked to a lot
Lester,
of guys in
Schmidt,
practice.
Lowen, like Cox,
They
like, oh my
all,
gosh.
all those guys were so confident in practice too. Like when I talked to Lowen before the tournament started, like he was pumped. Like he was getting a lot of bites, big bites, and then that bite just like disappeared. So from a viewing standpoint, that was disappointing. And I went so heavy on shallow largemouth guys with guys like Wes Logan, Caleb Kufall, Bob Downey, Lee Livesey, and Brandon Lester, to where I felt like I had a good enough mix of forward facing and non forward facing. I went too heavy on the shallow largemouth bite, and it came back
Oh, you
to
had a good mix of forward facing with the top two, but gee
yeah,
whiz.
yeah,
Um,
could have been better. Could have
yeah.
been better.
Well, give me your first 4 of Drain the Lake.
Yeah, first 4 for me. One name at least that we've talked about already. Going to start us off with Justin Atkins, Drew Benton, Bo Browning. Mentioned him obviously right off the jump on Pick'em, and John Cruz, another sneaky grinder type that we have not talked about to this point. So first 4: Justin Atkins, Drew Benton, Bo Browning, and John Cruz.
Well, my first 4 are mostly guys we've all talked about already with Wes Logan, Pat Schlapper, Caleb Summerall, and I've also got Tyler Rivette in my first 4.
I like it. To round out my roster, I have Brock Mosley, Greg Hackney, John Cox, and Gerald Swindle. I like Gerald Swindle to catch him here as well.
You really are going old school, older veterans for sure with that last group there.
It just feels like the tournament that like like if you look at any tournament on the schedule, the combination of the fishery itself, like whether forward-facing sonar is allowed or not, and then on top of that, forward-facing sonar is not allowed. Like I just think that this is the tournament that a lot of those guys come back and have a good event and get things back on track.
Gotta have it for some of them. The last 4 I've got Scott Canterbury, a Coosa River guy. I got
Love it.
Drew Cook, you mentioned him earlier,
Love it.
Jake Whitaker, and Matt Messer. I do feel I'm going shallow guys, but I do have some young, I do have some old, and some guys that you maybe wouldn't consider, and guys that I just really didn't know where else I would favorably pick them that would be far and away more confident than here. So if that makes sense, I didn't know where I'd
Yep.
pick them. Last time I picked Whitaker at Murray, he got like last, or no, I picked him at Hartwell or something. He got like last, and I was like, what? That doesn't happen. And and the guy like Messer, Kentucky being his home, he does well in Florida. No Florida on the schedule. Is he gonna do well at Santee, Pasquotank? Like I feel like this is a solid place, and so my 8 anglers are Wes Logan, Tyler Rivette, Pat Schlopper, Caleb Summerall, and then Scott Canterbury, Drew Cook, Jake Whitaker, and Matt Messer. So that's my 8 for
I'll
Falcon
go,
Rods Drain the Lake Challenge.
I'll go through my 8 right now. Got Justin Atkins, Drew Benton, Bo Browning, John Cruz, Brock Mosley, Gerald Swindle, Greg Hackney, and John Cox.
Well, time has come to wrap this puppy up. The Mountain Dew Bassmaster Elite, that's what's in this. Well, it's all gone now. It's just ice. But the Mountain Dew Bassmaster Elite at the Tennessee-Tombigbee Waterway, Columbus, Mississippi. Gonna be a fun one. I don't know what you'd consider good, what you'd consider bad. It's gonna be different, and I'm excited for different, and we'll see how it plays out. A lot of options to choose from. Like we said, 10 different pools you can fish in. However much time you have in there is up to you because you got to get there and get back. We could see some guys maximize all 8 hours of their fishing day in the takeoff pool. Could be to their demise or to their success. But excited for the third stop of the Elite Series season. Very crucial to get going. This is like an 8 a.m. basketball game. I tell my team, Kyle, 8 a.m. games are not about who's better. It's about who's ready to go fastest. And after the classic week, sicknesses hits you. Are you fully prepared? Are you ready to go stamina wise to get back in it? Whoever's ready to go and gets it going faster will be one that has a good day one and some success. And so we'll see who's ready to go early Thursday morning. Anything else got? We got the fan cam voting that ends Wednesday at noon to determine my fate on Bassmaster Live and Kyle's fate on who we talk about. Please pick a good one. Let's have fun with it. And we've got some other ones that I think that I can say they might change, but we should have Corey Johnston on camera. We should have Brock Mosley, Justin Atkins, and then we should have Hackney and Christie. So it should be whoever complains about these cameras, they complain about a steak that's cooked perfectly and put on their plate for free. That's just basically what it is. So, but excited for this
And
one.
and some really good names for the standalone streams as well. I know
Unmanned
I
cameras.
saw
Yeah.
that list. Obviously, those can change as well, but it's going to be an awesome tournament. Again, I'm a sucker for this style of fishing. It's my favorite way to fish by far. So
Me too, even though the
happy.
rumors on Bass Boat Central are opposite.
So definitely looking forward to it. Should be a ton of fun and ready to get it kicked off.
Sweet. Mountain Dew Bassmaster Elite Tennessee-Tombigbee kicks off in a few days. We will see you on Bass Live Thursday.